You want to know what's crazy? I'm actually happy my husband left me. I know that sounds totally messed up, but stick with me here. 3 months ago, if someone told me I'd be saying that, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am, 60 pounds lighter, and honestly, I've never felt better about myself. If you've ever had someone walk out on you and felt like your world was ending, you're gonna relate to this story. Because what happened after he left? Well, it changed everything. So let me back up a little. My husband, let's just call him Mark, came home from work on a Tuesday and said he didn't love me anymore. Just like that. No warning, no fight, nothing. He said he'd been feeling this way for months and couldn't pretend anymore. Then he packed a bag and left. 22 years of marriage, gone in 20 minutes. I sat on our kitchen floor for I don't even know how long. Just sat there staring at the spot where he'd been standing when he said those words. You know that feeling when your brain just stops working? Like someone unplugged you from the wall? That was me. The first week was hell. I barely ate anything. Couldn't sleep. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. reaching for his side of the bed, and it was just empty. Everything felt wrong. The house was too quiet. The bed was too big. Even the TV seemed louder without him there. I called in sick to work for 3 days straight. My sister kept texting me, asking if I was okay, but I couldn't even figure out how to answer that question. Was I okay? I mean, I was breathing. My heart was beating. But okay? Not even close. Here's the thing nobody tells you about getting dumped after 22 years. You forget who you were before that person. I couldn't remember what I liked to eat when I wasn't cooking for him. I didn't know what shows I wanted to watch when I wasn't compromising on his preferences. I felt like half a person walking around in a world that suddenly made no sense. But then something weird started happening around week 2. I was standing in front of the fridge, and I realized I had no idea what I wanted. Not just for dinner, for anything. When was the last time I'd asked myself what I wanted? I started small. Really small. Like, ridiculously small. I bought the fancy Greek yogurt I'd always wanted to try but never did because Mark said it was overpriced. I ate it for breakfast, and you know what? It was freaking delicious. Such a tiny thing, but it felt like rebellion, I guess. Then I started noticing other stuff. How I'd been buying the same groceries for years because they were what Mark liked. How I'd stopped wearing certain clothes because he made comments about them. How I'd even changed the way I laughed because he once said it was too loud. Wait, let me tell you about the laughing thing because this is where it gets really messed up. We were at his work party maybe 2 years ago, and I was talking to his colleague's wife. She said something funny and I laughed. You know, really laughed. The kind where you throw your head back. And later in the car, Mark said I was being too much and that people were staring. So I started quieting myself, making my laugh smaller, making myself smaller. I didn't even realize I was doing it until he was gone and I was watching some stupid comedy show, laughing as loud as I wanted, and it hit me. I hadn't laughed like that in years. Years. That's when I started making a list. Not like a crazy revenge list or anything, just things I used to do that I'd stopped doing. Things I'd wanted to try but never did. It wasn't even conscious at first. I'd just think, oh, I always wanted to. And I'd write it down. The gym was on that list. I'd been saying I wanted to get back in shape for probably 5 years, but there was always some excuse. Mark preferred staying in. Mark didn't like when I was gone for too long. Mark thought personal trainers were a waste of money. Always Mark, Mark, Mark. 3 weeks after he left, I walked into this little gym near my house. Just walked in. The guy at the front desk was probably 25 and way too enthusiastic for 9 a.m, but he showed me around and didn't make me feel like an idiot for not knowing how anything worked. I started going every other day. Not because I was trying to lose weight, honestly. I just needed somewhere to go that wasn't home or work. Somewhere that felt like mine. And you know what I discovered? I actually liked it. The feeling of being strong, of pushing myself, of accomplishing something that was just for me. But here's where the real revelation happened, and this is going to sound weird, but bear with me. I was on the treadmill one day, maybe a month into my gym routine, and this woman next to me struck up a conversation. She was probably 60, super fit, and she mentioned she'd started working out after her divorce 5 years ago. She said something that stuck with me. I spent 30 years making myself smaller to fit into someone else's life. Now I'm making myself bigger. Not physically bigger. She meant taking up space, having opinions, pursuing things that made her happy. That night I went home and really looked at myself in the mirror. Not in a self-critical way, but just looking. When had I stopped really seeing myself? When had I started defining myself only through Mark's eyes? I thought about all the times I'd suggested doing something and he'd shut it down or make me feel silly for wanting it. Like when I wanted to take a pottery class and he said it was artsy-fartsy nonsense. Or when I suggested we try hiking and he said I'd probably just complain the whole time. Little comments that didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but they added up. The weight started coming off without me really trying. Turns out, when you're not stress eating or mindlessly snacking while watching shows you don't even like, you naturally eat less. Plus, the gym was helping. But more than that, I think I was just lighter. Like I'd been carrying around this invisible weight of always trying to be what someone else wanted me to be. I bought new clothes. Not because my old ones didn't fit, but because I realized I'd been dressing for Mark's taste, not mine. He always said bright colors were too attention-seeking on me. Guess what I bought? A red dress. A bright red dress. And I looked damn good in it. The hardest part wasn't the loneliness or learning to do everything alone. It was realizing how much of myself I'd given up without even noticing. How many tiny compromises had added up to losing myself completely. Like, I used to love spicy food. Love it. But Mark couldn't handle anything spicier than black pepper. So I just stopped ordering it when we went out. Stopped cooking it at home. I probably hadn't eaten truly spicy food in 15 years. 15 years. So one night, I ordered Thai food, extra spicy, and ate it while crying because it was so good and I'd forgotten how much I loved it. Here's something nobody warns you about when you're rediscovering yourself after a long relationship. It's exciting and terrifying at the same time. Every day I was learning something new about who I was when I wasn't trying to be half of us. But it was also scary because I didn't know if I'd like this person I was becoming. Turns out, I really do like her. She's louder than I thought she'd be. She's braver. She tries new things. She doesn't apologize for taking up space. She laughs as loud as she wants and doesn't care who's staring. The 60 pounds came off over about 4 months. People started noticing and asking what diet I was on, what my secret was. The secret? I stopped eating my feelings and started living my life. I stopped medicating loneliness with food and started filling that emptiness with things that actually mattered to me. But honestly, the physical change was nothing compared to everything else. I started speaking up at work. I booked a solo trip to somewhere I'd always wanted to go. I called old friends I'd lost touch with because Mark thought they were too dramatic or bad influences. You know what's funny? Mark texted me about 2 months after he left. Said he was sorry for how he handled things, that he missed me, that maybe we could work things out. A few months earlier, I would have jumped at that chance. I would have been so grateful he was willing to come back. Instead, I looked at that text and felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just nothing, because I realized something huge. I didn't miss him. I missed the idea of him, the comfort of routine, the security of not being alone. But him, the actual person who made me feel like I was too much and not enough at the same time, I didn't miss that at all. I never responded to that text. And you know what? I'm proud of that. Old me would have responded immediately. would have been so grateful for the attention, would have ignored all the reasons he left in the first place just to not be alone. New me knows I'm better alone than I ever was trying to shrink myself to fit into someone else's life. Here's what I want you to understand. If you're going through something like this, the person who left you did you a favor. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I know it feels like your world is ending and you'll never be happy again. But they cleared the path for you to remember who you are when you're not trying to be someone else's idea of perfect. The weight loss was just a side effect. The real transformation was remembering that I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to have opinions. I'm allowed to want things and go after them. I'm allowed to be too much for some people because that just means they weren't my people anyway. 3 months ago, I was a woman who'd been told she wasn't worth loving anymore. Today, I'm a woman who knows she was always worth loving. She just forgot to love herself first. And honestly, that's the best weight I ever lost. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more honest breakup stories. And remember, you're stronger than you know. Bye.